From time to time, topics pop up that we have plans for a full redirect episode, but that our audience also deserves a quicker heads up, so to speak. With that in mind, we're introducing a Cliff's Notes version of these topics to be followed by a redirect episode. We're calling these BTW with BlackTruck Media and Marketing, as in, oh, by the way. We promise to be a brief pit stop in your day, just about 10 minutes, and then we'll be gone so that you can move forward with quick takes and confidence in the digital space. We'll be back later to deliver all the details you crave from our team.
Welcome to BTW with BTM, where we talk about the latest in digital marketing and communications and how that might be impacting the visibility of your brand online. I'm Jason Dodge, the founder and CEO of BlackTruck Media and Marketing. Today, we're discussing a significant shakeup in Shopify's ecosystem, specifically the unexpected and poorly communicated policy update on customer data collection and customer data acquisition. So let's unpack what happened, its impact, transparency in communications, specifically corporate communications and what this means, and also future of marketing attribution and being able to track the efficacy of your campaigns. First, I want to set the scene here, right? So Shopify, obviously a major player in e-commerce, powers a lot of sites and their e-commerce portions of their sites. So recently, they rolled out a policy that was blindsided by many. So effective somewhere around November 1st, this update impacted analytics within Shopify stores, specifically in Europe. So disrupting how businesses obviously track, analyze their online performance, specific again, inside of Shopify. But here's the kicker. The announcement was subtly tucked away in a changelog with just about 2 weeks of notice. So it wasn't formally communicated out. It was just left in the changelog. Now, imagine you're a Shopify merchant or business that relies on this data, the analytics that is coming in the back end of your platform to understand customer behavior. Again, the effectiveness or efficacy of your marketing campaigns, where people are coming from, what they're doing, what's their purchase behavior like once they're on site. Suddenly, this capability within Shopify is virtually wiped out, especially for those in European stores. And we're talking somewhere around 80 to 100% reduction in analytics visibility. So things like UTM, session tracking, things of that nature. This change, I would say, I believe, is primarily due to Shopify's approach to GDPR compliance, and it leaves merchants scrambling, right? The fallout from the community probably hasn't been real great, right? As you can imagine, it's been pretty significant. Merchants are kind of holding the bag, asking questions like, why is my customer data missing? Where or why is there a huge drop in traffic reported by Shopify analytics? So again, back-end analytics. So this confusion kind of highlights the widespread impact that these types of changes can have, especially if you don't have a backup plan in place or you're not utilizing other tools, techniques to be able to track this type of behavior. And this is probably where things get a little bit more concerning. And this is taking a step back and talking a little bit more about corporate communications and SaaS products and what we might want to communicate with our user base. Is the way Shopify communicated this update raises a little bit of a question about transparency and effectiveness in communications, specifically when you have a large and broad user base that is paying you monthly to use the platform. Communicating such a significant change solely through a changelog, probably not the best way to go about it. That's troubling from a lack of transparency on Shopify's perspective, right? It demonstrates a bit of a disconnect between Shopify and the user base, the merchant itself, leading to confusion. And again, I'll get back to unpreparedness. Very similar when you saw people scramble last minute to make the shift from UA to GA4. There were a lot of people that weren't necessarily prepared for that because they didn't deploy GA4, say, a year ago, just to collect some baseline data. Well, let's discuss what Shopify should have done differently. Again, this gets a little bit more into corporate communications and again, transparency. So, and then we'll talk more about what can merchants and app partners and other individuals learn from these types of scenarios. So From Shopify's perspective, I think the lesson is pretty clear, right? Communicate significant changes more effectively. Well, what does more effectively mean? Now, that could be direct notifications with an ample amount of notice. That could be emailing that information out, right? It could be if it's a real significant change, it could be hosting an event, something like that. Providing some detailed explanations as to the reason why. Don't leave your user base, your audience out in the dark into the reasons why you're doing something, right? Perhaps provide them with some helpful tips. What are alternatives that they could also be doing? Is that alternative a platform like GA4? Making the recommendation or reminding them, hey, many site owners are also running GA4, right? Because they want to see a full funnel of where their users are coming from, what marketing channels are working, again, pages that are popular, etc., not just commerce data. For merchants and partners, I would say it's a reminder to not rely too heavily on a single platform or single platform's system. We saw that years ago, right? The onset of social media and brands that just wanted to build a mega presence there and kind of said, I don't really need to spend a lot of time on my website. And then, what happens? Facebook pulls the rug out from underneath them. All of this great audience building that we've done kind of goes away unless you want to pay to play, right? So we've seen this happen over and over again. Similar to like the work that we do in the SEO space, in the content space, is like one tool isn't going to give you the answers, right? The tool is just going to provide you with some data. It's not going to develop the strategy. You need to have multiple tools in the game to really have a finger on the pulse of what's happening and what's moving. The same thing with your data. You need to be in the driver's seat of that as much as possible and have a couple different things going on there, right? So if you are running, in this case, a Shopify store or another e-commerce platform, don't rely solely just on the analytics coming out of that. If you're looking at that just from a revenue perspective and what you're generating, I think that's cool. But in order to see a little bit more of the attribution in the funnel, you definitely want to be leveraging another platform, another application. In this case, I'm going to say like a GA4. And also don't rely solely on that platform because it will go through changes. So diversifying your strategies like you do for marketing, staying informed about those updates, I think is crucial. Make sure those emails from those types of partners and those channels don't go into spam, don't go into some sort of defunct, portion of your inbox, right? Make sure you're checking those because that's kind of critical. The broader implications of this policy update, I think, are also worth noting, though, right? Shopify's, I would say, blunt approach to GDPR compliance, in the sense of an all or nothing setting, can have significant consequences for online retailers and e-commerce analytics in general. Certainly, it also plays into your digital marketing strategies. So just not within only Shopify's ecosystem, but potentially beyond. GDPR, I think, until somebody really enforces it or figures out a way to enforce it, is kind of at a wash right now. But this is really Shopify's stance of saying, again, all or nothing. So as we wrap up, it's clear that this situation is a little bit more than a technical hiccup from our perspective. It's a wake-up call on the importance of the agility and awareness in the ever-evolving landscape of not just e-commerce, but also like digital marketing and big tech. For Shopify merchants, app developers, I would say that the journey ahead could be viewed as challenging, but it also could be viewed as an opportunity for growth and adaptation. I will go back to, again, the adaptation and transition from UA to GA4. If you haven't acquainted yourself with the reporting dashboards, the language that's being used in tools like GA4, then you're just relying solely on one platform. So if you are an e-commerce merchant, you're utilizing a platform like Shopify, totally using the native analytics, I think, is great. But it's also a little bit of a push to make sure that you have all of your channels dialed in or connected as much as possible. If you're running Google ads, is it tied into GA4? You're running Facebook ads. Are you using UTM tracking or other forms of tracking and the Facebook pixel to tie that into your site and where people are coming from and what they're doing? Because newsflash, attribution for marketing success is going to become murkier. It's going to become harder for us to be able to tell the story of Again, I put $1 in here and I got $5 directly out. Attribution is murky. It's more like I put 50 cents in over here, 25 cents in over here, 25 cents here, and I got $5 out. So having as much data in a couple different spots is going to be important, and tying those all together. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to BTW with BTM. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com. Until next time, good luck.